Hello out there, all you wonderful internet people that are not watching this show. We are your bearded brothers, back again with yet another sports podcast. I'm Matt.
I guess I'm Chris.
And on his shoulder is the ever-present, interminable bird of doom, Loki.
Kind of cuddling my neck at the moment.
Yeah, he looks very cuddly at the moment. But do not let
I yelled at him earlier. He's faking it. I yelled at him earlier and he's sad.
Do not actually let that fool you. He is a bird of many sins.
Mostly biting and screaming into ears.
And we are back today because I told y'all last week after we did our NFL episode that I was going to come back and we were going to do an NHL free agency recap. Now, we've determined that there is a problem. Not a problem, but there is a thing with this. I very closely follow the NHL. Chris doesn't really pay attention until the playoffs. And he didn't even watch the playoffs last year because the Wild weren't in it.
Well, yeah, the Wild weren't in it, and I was also working pretty much every game.
Yeah.
So didn't get to really pay attention to it.
Small problems, Jimbo.
Yeah, I don't follow it enough, so I'm going to be mostly listening to the names and going, yeah, that sounds like a great move, Matt. Yeah.
So I'm going to attempt to actually explain what I think some of these signings are about. And I will talk about which ones I liked the best. And in fact, the ones that I really liked the best are the ones that hurt me the most, to be completely honest.
The real question I have is, did the Wild do anything of note?
No.
Well, then there goes all of my semblance of caring about what's happening.
The Wild did basically nothing of note.
Next question, did Boston get worse?
Kinda.
Yeah, then I'm not super thrilled about this episode.
Kinda. They shipped off one of their two world-beating goalies.
Yeah, not quite enough for them to be bad, though.
No, because they still have Swayman.
Exactly. Okay.
But we are going to talk about this a little bit. So we're going to start with obviously the big one because it was rumored to be happening for a while, and it finally did. It happened within the first hour of free agency, and that is Tampa Bay's own Steven Stamkos left Tampa, and he signed with the Nashville Predators. The deal for Stammer, let me see if I can find it here. I can barely read.
Reading is hard.
No, my eyes are crap.
I never claimed how reading was hard. Just that reading was hard.
He gets $32 million over 4 years, which works out to about $8 million a year. Supposedly Tampa had offered him, like, I want to say it was like 7 years or 8 years. The maximum years, but at like, I want to say it was 7, and it was at like $4 million. $4 million a piece or $3 million a piece, something like that. It was like $21 million overall, or 20 something million overall, or almost $30 million, somewhere right in there. But they couldn't come up with enough money to keep him. Are you kidding me? You couldn't come up with $32 million? This is your franchise guy. This is a dude who has been with you through all of your Stanley Cups, well, the recent ones, and he's been the man for a very long time. That kind of crap makes me mad. However, Nashville was thinking, a lot of people didn't think we were going to be very good last year, and we made the playoffs. We got beat in the first round, but we almost beat the number 1 seed. And our defense and goalie are really, really, really good. but we could not find the back of a net with a frickin' GPS finder. We could have put laser pointers on our sticks, and we still couldn't hit the back of the net. Damn it. So they're going to go out and get a guy who scored 40-plus goals this last season. Then they immediately added to him with Jonathan Marchessault, who won the MVP for the playoffs during Vegas's run to the Cup. Not last year, but year before last. He gets $27.5 million over 5 years, so about $5.5 million per year. Now, the thing that upsets me about that, Vegas didn't even offer him. They just let him straight up walk. So what I'm going to say to you all is, Vegas has gotten a lot of crap for running their team like a business. They aren't attached to any one player. It doesn't matter how good you are or how good you were recently or where you go. They've got no problem just letting you walk, because to them, the overall team matters more than individual players and accolades. And I can understand that from a specific point, that makes sense. But you're going to come off as a ruthless organization that people just aren't going to want to play for because you have no tact when you let people go. So you're going to have to be careful with that, Vegas. You're going to have to be careful with that. The other people that have gone out of their way to get better recently, and he has kind of surprised me, is San Jose, as they immediately went out and they got their hands on Tyler Toffoli, who's a very good scoring guy. Oh, I should also point out why Nashville signed Marchessault, because he's another 40-goal scorer. So they literally added 80 goals to their top line. Which, if you think about it, makes a version of sense, doesn't it?
Yes. Sorry, somebody sent me a thing about on Cowboys, and I had to watch it because it's the Cowboys. It's the funniest shit you would ever see.
Well, is it Scooter?
Somebody is going around asking the Cowboy players what their first cartoon crushes were, and it's fucking amazingly hilarious.
So I seen another one with the Eagles. I think it was the Eagles or somebody. They were doing, they had a sign, jorts, yes or no, and then you would go by either the yes side or the no side. Or maybe that was I don't know who it was, but they did that one. That was funny. I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that coming out of camp that I'm enjoying.
The funniest thing is, too, the first person they ask, they give him the tiniest little microphone as part of the joke. And right away the person asks him that question, you can see him do a take where he looks at him and then he side eyes him for a second, really? You can just tell he's giving that look of how am I gonna answer this question? And the only one that didn't give a proper answer was fucking Dak, because of course Dak didn't. Fucking hilarious. Sorry.
You're fine.
Off topic, it was just humorous as fuck.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm telling you right now, some of the funniest things happen at media days when you're just trying to think up stuff that other people haven't asked or done yet.
Pretty much.
But yeah, San Jose signs Toffoli, gets 25-30 goals out of him. That's pretty good. He got $24 million over 4 years. That's a good contract. He's up in, I believe he's 30 this year. So, that'll take him until he's 34, 35. Kind of what we expected. Now, to replace Stamkos, who was pretty sure they were leaving, Tampa went out and traded early for the rights to Jake Gensel to try to negotiate with him during the re-sign period before free agency began. They did get a deal with Gensel done. He's going to make $43 million over 7 years. That's $9 million a year. Look, you cannot think that he's going to replace Stamkos. He's not going to put in 40 goals. But Gensel is a little younger than a lot younger than Stamkos. I believe he's 28, 27, 28, somewhere right in there. And so signing him up for 7 years is, I mean, that's pretty good. That'll take him till he's like 35, 36, somewhere right in there. Which, you know what, I'm on board for. See, Tampa's kept that core together, and it's that idea of we've been doing the same things and we're not getting back to the finals, so we need to do something different. And I totally understand that. Which is surprising to me why Toronto didn't try to move off pieces of their core. But they didn't. Now, they did do what everybody said they needed to do, which is find some defense. They managed to sign Chris Tanev, $27 million over 6 years, $4.5 million. He may not play all of that contract, but they hope that he can. But the way Tanev plays, he's a very physical D-man. Now the thing is, he's also a right D that shoots right, which is something that Toronto hasn't had in a while. Duchesne stays in Dallas. That's not really big news. So Chicago is slowly trying to make themselves better again. They signed both Teuvo Teravainen, who's like 20, 30 goals, to 3 years, $16 million, and rough and tumble Tyler Bertuzzi to 4 years, $22 million. Bertuzzi has recently been a 1 year kind of mercenary guy. He did a year he got traded to Boston, did not go back to Boston, went to Toronto for a year, and now signed a 4-year deal with Chicago. So that's pretty good for him. Boston, unfortunately for us, Boston signs defenseman Nikita Zadorov to 6 years, $30 million. I hate that. Fuck Boston. Yeah, I can swear on this channel. We're 18 plus.
Fair enough. Fair enough. DeBrusk goes to Vancouver. I believe he was with Boston, and he wasn't bad there. But he gets $38.5 million over 7 years from Vancouver. Minnesota did give a no-name guy named Yakov Trenin $14 million over 4 years, $3.5 million a year. Any big news here? Let's see here. I know that Buffalo bought out Skinner, because he was at $9 million a year, but he was not a $9 million a year effort. Former Minnesota defenseman Matt Dumba is now playing in Dallas. Gross.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. That's disgusting. Let's see here. Any other big ones that I want to talk about? There are a couple. I just need to find them in here. Yeah, Edmonton also did pick up Jeff Skinner. Remember I said he was making $9 million a year? They got him at one year, and I don't remember. It doesn't have the cap deal here, but he was, or does it? Yeah. 1 year, $3 million. That's probably closer to
Huh.
what he deserves.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
No, that's pretty good. And Edmonton, who just lost the finals, gets a little bit better.
Fair enough.
Carolina picks up Ghost Despair, which I kind of like. Ghost is a good player. I think he's been. A lot of people have been on him for not being as good as he should be, but I think he's been great. TJ Brody also to Chicago. So they're, like I said, Chicago is really trying to build a team now. Now that they have their franchise guy with Bedard, they're really trying to rebuild a team around him. And that, you know what? It makes some sense. You're bringing in a few guys that are a little older for defense. You're bringing in some veterans to help guide the youngsters and bring them along. You may not compete yet, but in a couple of years, you're probably going to be a very dangerous team.
Oh, fair enough.
All right. Come on now. New Jersey resigns Tatar. Buchnevich resigns in. Buchnevich does resign in St. Louis. Gross. Ryan Suter is going to the Capitals. Lundell stays in Florida, signs an extension. Ah, there we went. Victor Tarasenko is now in Detroit.
Slightly familiar. I'm not sure why.
Because he played for St. Louis when they made their cup run.
Okay.
So if you were paying attention and you hated St. Louis because they're an obvious rival of the Wild, yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily hate them as much as like I hate Boston, but fair.
I can't blame you for that. Those are some of the bigger moves. There's a whole bunch of like little stuff in here that I could cover, but honestly, it would just bore most of you, I think. But obviously, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
So it's obvious to me that San Jose, having gotten their number one overall pick now, is attempting to put some stuff in there to make him want to come out of college right away and come play for them. They've also got, I think, Will Smith in the system. No, not that Will Smith.
I know, but that's where my brain went.
I know!
Just Will Smith all of a sudden playing hockey professionally. What the fuck?
Yes, I thought of the same thing, but no, it is a different Will Smith. Very highly touted.
Is he also African American?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's a white guy.
Oh, that would have been hilarious.
Oh, it would have been, totally. I agree with you 100%. Talking about draft, Minnesota did draft in the first round, they drafted a defenseman from Denver. As we all know, University of Denver does actually produce good hockey players.
Yes, we all know that.
Well, there are only a few colleges, in my opinion, where you can get.
Yeah,
hockey
I know
players.
I know it's not like quite the NFL that a lot of drafted players tend to come from either overseas or through their lower tier programs. So I understand that
There are not a lot of colleges
in the
for
way
that.
where it's actually colleges.
Basically,
yeah.
you're looking at like
Same thing with basketball, right? Like basketball, there's not a lot of like there is some, but there's not as much college. I think in NHL is even less than basketball, probably.
It is way less because at basketball there are
Because
a lot of
basketball does
college
have
guys,
some.
Kentucky, Kansas.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. There's definitely some you can call out, but there's definitely a lot of people who get drafted that come straight from high school, basically.
I believe there is still a rule in place now for basketball that says you have to do at least 1 year of NBA or professional ball somewhere before you can be drafted by the NBA. You have to do at least 1 year in the NCAA.
Yeah, but you get my point though. Like it's not super common. Like I remember because didn't LeBron just get drafted straight out of high school
LeBron was one of the last kids that did that. Yeah.
before they did that? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you can understand at least where my history is why I would say that then because
Yes.
historically
Yes.
speaking,
Before
for a while there.
before that, yes. And then they put a rule in place that you had to do,
Oh, okay.
like the
I must have missed
NFL
that.
has, you have to do 2 years of college football
Is it two
or
or
the
three?
equivalent.
Is it two?
It is 2. It is
Okay.
2. You cannot come out until you're after your sophomore year.
If you get redshirted, does it have to be three then?
If you get no, it's still you have to
Is
be.
it
It's
still
a
just the
certain.
two?
I believe it's a specific age, but it's basically after what would be
Okay.
your sophomore
Your
season.
sophomore year, yeah.
Yeah.
Because most players tend to not choose to leave until at least their junior year.
Yeah,
if they
after their
do.
junior year is generally when you see them.
Some will stay in their senior if they feel like they haven't produced enough tape for their junior. But,
Exactly. Like if
Um,
you didn't get the starting job until partway through your junior year, you're liable
Yeah.
to stay for your senior year.
So I can't think of too many players that actually ring eligible right after their sophomore year. I can't think
Yeah.
of too many that have actually done that.
I think my favorite pick in the draft was probably the Wild picking Aaron Kiviharu from the Swedish leagues. I'm not expecting you to know that.
Yeah.
All I'll say is they got him in like I want to say the 4th or 5th round, and the only reason they got him that late is because he had a very devastating knee injury playing this last season. Up until that point, he was a potential top 10 pick.
Gotcha.
And we got
So
him in
a lot
like
of
the
people
5th
were
round.
concerned
Yeah,
because
exactly.
and I assume there must have been very little to no information on the injury for other teams to be like, well, is he gonna
Or
be
they're
ready
or
anytime
they're
soon?
worried because it's a major knee injury. How long are you going to have to?
How long are you gonna be out for? And
How
even
long
if
you
do
have to
come back
rehab it? Are you going to be the same player when you come back?
when you come back?
Yeah. So, but the Wild were willing to take a swing on that because if you get a guy who was a top 10 potential player that late, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we'll do that. The Wild have also re-signed Brock Besser, or not Brock Besser, Brock Faber, our young stud D guy.
Yep.
Very happy with that. And obviously, we extended the Flower. Now he has publicly stated this is his last year.
Figures.
Yeah. He said, I'm done after this year, but I want one more year. Just, let's go around, let's have some fun. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because I was gonna say it's not gonna be one more year to get a championship because I promise. Looking at this team on paper,
No. I hate to say it,
This-
but no. And
this ain't it, Chief. Not without all of a
good-
sudden a lot of players popping off way better than they should.
well,
Like,
and the
there's
good
no-
news is for the Wild, this
I mean, they're on a solid. I would almost say not necessarily a rebuild, but like the quote unquote what the Vikings like to do, what they call a competitive rebuild, right? This is what this feels like. Like they're only a couple pieces realistically out of.
And I
making
agree.
runs for
And
playoffs
this is the
consistently,
last season where they have the cap constraints after buying out Suter and Parise.
Yeah, so I think next
They're
year,
still going to have
or maybe the
some
year
cap
after that's gonna
constraints,
be-
but it's like rather than it being like I want to say 18 million almost or something like that we have to pay them. The next 2 year, the year after this, it goes down to like 1.3 million for the both of them.
Yeah,
total.
so I don't think this season's really it, but next season could be
Yeah.
like a big.
Yeah, and that's
big
so
season.
next off season when that falls off the books and we get that plus the extra cap space, I think we might make some shakes and
Make
moves,
some moves, yeah.
finally in the off season and in free agency, and we might be able to put a team together, especially when you got I cannot remember the name of our goalie. I want to call him Wahlberg, but I know that's not it. Jesper. Goalie.
Yeah, name's not coming to
Yeah, but J-Dub. Wallstead.
Yeah, there it is, yeah.
Jesper Wallstead. I knew it would come to me. Yeah, you got him down waiting in the wings. There are rumors that we're trying to trade Gustafsson, our other goalie, that we signed to the big contract, and then started the year really good with a shutout, and then just kind of slowly sank into oblivion and lost his job to Fleury.
Which,
Since
I mean,
since Wallstead may be ready to come up this next season and work in tandem with Fleury.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say if someone. It's hard
Yeah,
to know if a player is really ready until you kind of throw him in the net and go,
yeah.
well, good luck.
Good luck. I 100% agree with that. Now, let's talk trades, because there were some of those that were like, what? All right. Where are they? Because there were some big ones at the draft. Here's Tanev. All right. All right, we'll start with the one that I really liked. We're just going to start right here. Okay. Utah acquires defenseman Mikhail Sergachev from Tampa and sends away Connor Geekie, J.J. Moser, a second-round pick in 2025, and a fourth-round pick in 2024, which turned into 119 overall. Look, Utah is also trying to get better. They're going. They've upgraded their decor with that one. They also grabbed John Marino from New Jersey for a second-round pick for 2 seconds. I think that's a great grab for them. I don't think John Marino has any relation to Dan Marino, which I'm sure some people are curious about. Tampa then also gets rid of Tanner Jeannot. They get a fourth and a second for him, and LA grabs him. Minnesota did make a move with Boston. They send Vinny Lettieri to Boston along with a fourth-round pick in 2024, and they get back Jacob Lauko and a fourth-round pick in 2024. Basically, we went from 110th overall to 122nd and swapped a pair of, like, bottom 6 players. That's not that big. That's not that big. Lot of this is draft now. Let's see here, because there were a couple of a lot of pick swap in here. Trying to get back to kind of the big name people that people know. Here we go. Ottawa acquires Nick Jensen and a third-round pick in 2026 from Washington, who in return acquires Jacob Chychrun. It was pretty obvious to Ottawa that Chychrun had no interest in signing a contract extension to stay there. This upcoming season would have been his last season, so they decided to move early and get something for him, instead of waiting to the deadline and praying that he didn't get injured, because Chychrun does have kind of an injury history.
Fair.
The Rangers acquire Riley Smith from Pittsburgh and give up a second and a fifth. They also retained 25% of Smith's contract. St. Louis acquires Matthew Joseph from Ottawa for and a third for nothing. And I do mean nothing. Future considerations. St. Louis then gets rid of Radek Faksa to Dallas for future considerations. Ottawa traded. Ottawa required Jan Yannick and traded away Igor. Love the name. Igor Sokolov to Utah. Let's see here. Okay, there were some much earlier picks then that I missed that I want to get into with you. Come on. All right. That was a big one. I think this is the one that kicked everything off. There were a couple right here that did. So let's get into it, shall we? The big one is Tampa trades with Nashville and acquires back Ryan McDonagh, who they traded away several years ago. Big defenseman Ryan McDonagh. They gave up a second and a seventh. The second is in 2025, and the seventh was this year in 2024. That was big for them. They really wanted him back, and they went out and got him. New Jersey. New Jersey has had a problem. Do you know what New Jersey's problem was this last season? They couldn't stop a puck from finding the back of the net if you gave them a wall. So they went out and they traded Kevin Ball, a first-round pick of 2025, for Jacob Markstrom. And Calgary retained 31.25% of Markstrom's salary. That's pretty big. Now, another big one. And this is more of a change of scenery trade. It's a player-for-player, one-for-one swap. The Los Angeles Kings acquire goalie Darcy Kemper, whom, when the Avalanche won their last cup, was their goalie. And the Kings send to Washington Pierre-Luc Dubois, PLD. That dude was a top 5 pick, I want to say, in his draft, and he was picked by Winnipeg, worked his way out of Winnipeg, or not Winnipeg, he was picked by Carolina, worked his way out of Carolina. They traded PLD straight up. I think there was some stuff for Patrick Laine, who was not happy in Winnipeg. Then PLD talked his way out of Winnipeg. I think he wanted to go to Montreal, but they sent him to the Kings. He didn't play very well last year. The Kings had given him a huge contract. So they sent PLD over to Washington and took on Kemper because they needed a goalie. Washington had an emergence of a young goalie tandem and no longer needed Kemper. So let's do a change of scenery trade between the two players. So I'm not mad about that one. That one I think made a lot of sense for both teams. We'll see how it affects the players. Now, the big one. Boston acquires Eunice Korpisalo, a goalie, Mark Kastelik, a center, and a first-round pick in 2024, the 25th overall pick, from Ottawa for goalie Linus Ullmark. They also retained 25% of Korpisalo's salary. It's quite obvious that Korpisalo is going to be the backup to Swayman. There's no way he challenges Swayman for the net. But Ottawa is serious about wanting to try to contend. They've got enough very young talent in that team. Bringing in a goalie as good as Ullmark is only going to be beneficial for them. I think that one makes just a ton of sense, and I think they did a great job with that. I can't actually be mad at that at all. It makes a ton of sense. San Jose send Kyle Burrows to LA for Carl Grunderstrom, which not bad. Grunderstrom is going to be a little bit smaller. Um, Calgary gets a second round pick for Andrew Mangiapane from Washington. That's also not terrible. And St. Louis acquires Alexander Texier, I think they say, for a fourth round pick in 2025. Those are the big trades. My I think my favorite deal was, so my favorite signings happened to the Predators, which hurts my soul because I really don't like the Predators. But
I mean, to be fair, they haven't been good for a while.
They
I
really
mean,
haven't.
that.
But
they've kind of been up and down. But
yeah, and I think adding 80 goals to that front end, I think they don't even have to hit 80. Adding 30 and 30, adding another 60 goals from those two players, which is they're totally capable of doing, even at advancing age. I think only spells good things for the Predators. It makes them instant competitors in that division. Don't be surprised if the Predators win the Central Division next year. They're going to contend for the Western Conference title, probably. They're going to be really good. My favorite trade, honestly, Ottawa getting Ullmark. They gave up quite a bit to get him, but I think that only helps in the long run. I'm very impressed also with what Chicago did. They look like they're trying to build they're in the full rebuild and they're doing it right, and they're bringing in veteran talent now to help the young guys. I'm only impressed with this. And I'm also slightly minorly impressed with the San Jose rebuild to this point. Obviously, they got the number 1 overall pick this last year. They have 2 firsts this upcoming year as well, because they have Vegas's first. So not only do they have their own first, they also own Vegas's first round pick. That can only be good for the Sharks. And we'll see if Celebrini decides to come out of college early and immediately play for the Sharks. I think that has been confirmed that he's going to. Will Smith is going to come in and play for the Sharks as well, I believe, and adding in some of the wing pieces like Teravainen that they did, or did they get Toffoli? I think they got Toffoli. I think that's only good business by them. Utah, Salt Lake City made some good moves as well. I don't really do losers. And also, I will say that Toronto also brought in OEL, and they made some other good moves as well. I am disappointed that they haven't moved anything from that core yet. And talking to people about it, here's the thing. Their core 4 are all forwards. They don't have a core 4 defenseman. And that's, if you look at other teams that have spent a lot of money on 3 or 4 players, they usually have like 2 forwards, a defenseman and a goalie, or 2 forwards and 2 defensemen, or maybe 3 forwards and a D. But it's always includes some sort of big name defenseman. Like if you look at it, Nashville, you could say now has kind of a core 4 because they've got Jussi Saros and net. They've got Roman Josi on defense, and now you've got Marchessault and Stamkos. That's your team. That's your big money guys now. You look at stuff like that, and that's like where you spent your money. We'll see how this all works out. It also looks like Minnesota is trying to build something with Kaprizov and Faber. I'm all in favor of that. I think that that's going to do them very good up in the future. We'll have to see. I'm worried about... Now, if we're going to talk Wild a little bit, because you can do that, right?
A little bit. They're the closest one that I follow. Like I said last year, I didn't get to watch as much as I would have liked.
Do you know Spurgeon was basically out all season, right?
Yeah, yeah, that I didn't know. Yep.
And he's also older.
He's also older. Yep.
So I am a little worried about his future.
Right.
Older, injury concerns.
Worried about re-injury or injuring again.
And there's also
Yep.
been rumors that we're looking to maybe trade Marco Rossi now. He popped off last year, played really, really well.
Yeah,
But I
but
get
can you
the
also like
I get the
yeah, like
idea because he's had injuries and sicknesses and
well, not just that. If you have a pop off right that like that right like your mind's going okay, is that statistically a anomaly or is that a continued thing that you can expect? At the same time, you're looking at it from well, if he has injury concerns on an occasion, this might be the best sell high kind of idea.
sell high.
Right? Like
Yes.
he's worth more now than if he ends up getting injured this season, and then all of a sudden now you're not going to be able to sell him for anything.
Also,
Granted, but if he plays really well, then his value could actually increase even more, and it's just it's a tough decision. But
I want to point out
understand
that
the
I was mad when we traded Fiala and I felt we didn't get anything for him.
Yeah,
I have since learned that we got Faber in that trade.
yeah.
I am now far more okay with that trade.
Well, I think that's the other thing that we also have to remember is that like it depends on what we get. It's always true for a lot of things. It depends on what you get, and sometimes you don't know what you're getting right away. So sometimes you're like, we're getting a complete unknown player that we just have no idea if they're gonna be any good, and then they end up being a stud, and then you're just like, well, guess I can't be too mad about it now.
I can't be too mad about it now. And that's kind of what happened last year because I got to see Faber a little bit the previous year because he came in for the playoffs. And then he started this year and almost immediately became a top D pairing because Spurgeon went out. And that dude just like. If I will say this, if Connor Bedard had not been the number one overall pick or had gotten injured super early and didn't play all season or something, broke his collarbone, who knows what, Brock Faber would have won the Calder Award for best rookie. The dude just put in minutes. Like he became just a minute eater out there on the blue line. I was very impressed with him. And I watched him stick handle like a forward and I was like, Jesus. He's a keeper. I'm very happy with Brock Faber. I wish the Gus Bus would get a little better. I think that contract kind of because he came in last year for us and did really well, and then we gave him that big contract, and I think he may have felt the pressure of that deal and trying to live up to it. And we all know goalies are the weirdest thing. They can be world beaters one year and just suck the next, and there's no explanation for it.
Well, goalies is one of the hardest positions. As somebody, I shouldn't say I played goalie, but as somebody that played a little bit of friendly hockey games as a goalie, it's really a mentality thing. Legitimately, it's not that I couldn't do it or that physically like they can't play at the position. It comes down to mentality and basically telling yourself that you are unstoppable. But the problem is the minute you start letting in a goal or two, all of a sudden your mentality starts to crack and you start kind of questioning the way you're playing and starting to wonder if I'm doing something wrong. Am I overanalyzing it? And then sometimes by overanalyzing it, you then are overthinking it and not playing naturally. And if you're not playing naturally, you become more robotic. And it's legitimately, I know it sounds dumb, but it is
No. It sounds perfect.
Super
And
mentally tough position.
The super extreme franchise-altering goalies are few and far between.
And most
guys that are just consistently the best.
Yeah.
Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, Martin Brodeur, Ed Belfour.
And quite often, I find that typically the goalies that are that good are typically very mentally sound. Like they just don't let they come across as just very I wouldn't even say like hyper competitive, but they just kind of seem like they're so relaxed all the time. And that's kind of part of having to be a good goalie is that you're not You're not overthinking it. You're not trying to be hyper. You have to be kind of relaxed and just kind of like, yeah, go with the flow.
If
Play
you
naturally.
watch old Dominic Hasek videos, the Dominator.
Now obviously, I mean, you can when you're playing. There's obviously I'm saying competitiveness, yes, but I mean like if you talk to them when they're not playing or anything like that,
No,
you
no, no,
come
no.
across as
What I was going to say was,
oh
if
okay,
you
go ahead.
watch old videos of him playing, um, he didn't have. So you know how they try to say, "Oh, you're a hybrid, you're a butterfly,
Oh yeah,
you're a
exactly. You
stand-up,
don't
you're an original."
and don't over and obviously if you're a goalie, don't let anyone say that.
No.
Play your game. Don't try
And
to
that's what
force yourself
Dominic
into a
Hasek did.
box.
Dominic Hasek took the mentality of stop the puck however you can and figure out everything else
Exactly.
later.
Don't overthink it.
And
Yeah,
that
don't try to
dude
be
won.
like yeah.
I don't even know how many best goalie awards in a row. Just like there was one time where he won a whole bunch of them and then took a year off and let somebody else win it and then went back and won more. And you're just like, Jesus. The
Yeah.
dude
A lot of
was a monster.
And it's funny because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, it's because he mastered all of the tech." No, he
No!
just simply
He just threw
played
himself
it
in
how
front of the
he thought
puck.
he had to play it. Yeah, he played it in the way that he thought he had to play it, and he adjusted his playing style based on who he was playing against. And that's really what makes a really great goalie is being able to basically reading the game. You have to read who's playing well, who's not playing well, who do I have to focus on because they're playing well versus others who aren't playing as well. Like it's a reading your opponent game, and that's all it is.
And you know, like even the greats have really off games or bad games
Oh,
or
of
make
course.
mistakes. Patrick Waugh
Yeah.
there's two that come to mind, and that's one when he was playing in Montreal, he got shellacked for like 9 goals and they never pulled him.
Yeah, it
Um,
happens.
and the other one is I think it was in the playoffs or maybe even the finals, the Statue of Liberty. He had the puck in his glove and he reached up to like lift it above his head and it fell out of his glove and right onto the ice, and one of the opposing players knocked it right in the net.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes stuff like that happens. Most of the time, it's because you're distracted by something else. Most of the time, that's what it is.
Oh,
Whenever a
100%.
goalie that's normally really good starts having a bad game, it's probably because they're mentally distracted by something.
100%. But yeah, there have been some fantastic goalies. I think there's going to be some. I think Swayman is going to be one of those super consistent guys, and he's young. I want to say he's like 25 or 26. He's got a lot of years in him, I think, as long as he doesn't get injured.
Right.
Vasilevsky has been really, really consistent for a long time. Saros, consistent for several years in a row now. We'll see how Ottinger looks like he could be one of those guys too. The Otter. But that's the big news in the NHL front. Yeah, okay over there?
Yeah, just shoulder acting up on me.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah, the last couple weeks haven't been fun. It is what it is, though.
Yeah, I've gotten one for me too. They're saying I might have like a tennis elbow, but I don't even play tennis, so
I know, that's just what they call it.
I know. Because it's the common injury you see in tennis. I used to play tennis. I was never good at it.
I tried.
I tried too. I'll bet you and I have tried a lot of similar things.
Probably.
I
like the
tried
idea of
baseball.
tennis. I just don't have the cardio for it.
I tried baseball.
Yep, done that.
Wasn't very good at that.
I wasn't horrible at that. Outside of like catching and batting, running the bases, I was not so good at. I wasn't a fast person.
I was okay at that. I quit right around machine pitch because I was afraid of getting hit by the ball.
I didn't even have issues with that. My problem just came down to that. Honestly, it was a combination of cardio and I couldn't run worth shit.
I did swim team.
No, absolutely not,
Dude. I was a swimming fool. I liked it. I was never the best at it.
Yeah, I don't mind swimming, but I definitely don't like to like competitively swim or anything like that.
But when I was much younger, much younger, way back in the day, I was on the team that set the club record for the 4x100 relay freestyle.
Alright.
Yeah, not bad. I was never the best at it though. I did all right. I also tried basketball.
I played that mostly with friends for friends, but I never tried.
I did YMCA basketball. I sucked at it. Yeah. I was never any good at it.
I like to still play it on occasion, but I can shoot. I don't have the cardio, but man, I can shoot free throws all day long.
Can't shoot worth crap. Can't dribble. Can't lay up. You know what I can do?
I can do all that.
The only thing that I figured out was because the way my brain works, I figured out how to figure out where the rebound was going before most other people did. Yeah, I used to be a rebounding fool. That was about all I was good for.
Yeah, I could not last very long. I could dribble and stuff, but I couldn't do anything super fancy. So I wasn't like I could do the bare basics, and I could play defense and shoot.
I could kind of play some defense.
So that was basically all.
That was it. I sucked at everything else.
Whenever my friends would be like, "That's a penalty," let Chris go shoot the ball. Like, free throws were like, I was making probably at least 80% of those, but like, if you wanted me to make contested, actual,
Unfortunately, since I grew up mostly in Texas, I did not get a chance to play hockey.
Unfortunately for me, I couldn't really play actual hockey. I have ankles. I have bad flat feet with ankles that pronate in, and trying to balance on skates properly to do so was quite difficult. Hence, why I was a goalie. Because you don't really have to skate much as a goalie. You just gotta stand there. But so that was all I got to do, is play a little bit of goalie, because I couldn't actually skate.
I have found that I do not know how to skate. I cannot ski. I cannot skate.
Yeah, I can't do skiing or snowboarding because of the fact.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about water skiing.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably still couldn't do that. It mostly comes down to the fact that because of how bad my ankles are, I have balance issues. And so anything that requires balancing on pretty much anything becomes pretty difficult.
I think my dad coined the best phrase to describe me athletically. I have all the athletic balance and grace of a cow on ice skates.
Yeah, mine's a medical issue, to be fair.
Yeah, but we're not a very athletic family.
It's funny you say that, because we actually have genetics of having athletic family members. Like, Melissa is actually very athletic, and when she was younger was very, very athletic. Could be very athletic when she wanted to be. A dad grew up playing baseball along with our uncle Jeff and John. Like, they played sports. They were a sports family. In fact, Grandpa is the one that would coach them. So, like,
I will
surprisingly
also say,
enough, we actually do have athletic family members.
When I was very young, I also tried soccer.
I never even tried. Was never like I right away looked at that.
Unlike you, I did have the cardio.
Yeah,
I didn't get lazy and chunky until later in life. When I was younger, I was more like Ryan's build.
I was mid-teens when I started getting really chunky, and even before that, I still never really had.
Even in my teens,
run around much. Yeah.
I went into basic training at the age of 20 at 155 pounds.
Yeah, no. I was over 200 pounds by the time I was 15, so.
Yeah, no, I spent most of my youth in the like, as teens, in the 140 to 150 range.
Yeah, no. I think by the time I graduated high school, I was like 240.
I think when I left basic, I was 165.
Probably muscle build mostly.
Yeah,
anything else.
It was mostly muscle build. Yeah. But I didn't get much bigger until I got out of the Army and I stopped working out all the time and doing PT.
I also found out apparently the military doesn't want me because of my flat feet, so that was cool.
Yeah, they almost disqualified me from my finger. But anyway, we've gotten way off topic.
Regardless, point being, I had all of the ambition of wanting to be athletic. I had like the idea, like I wanted to play football. I wanted to do all these things. Problem is, my physical build, even though I'm big and would be good for those positions, my feet said otherwise.
See, I had none of the ambition to do any of it, but I kind of was minorly. I had enough cardio to do some of it. If I had ever wanted to put the effort into being good at any of it, I might have been.
No, yeah, that was my problem. Is I think that's why I gained so much weight in my early teens, is because I kind of gave up due to the fact that my ankles were so bad that I just got, honestly, probably early depression, if we're going to be completely honest about it.
But yeah, no, and
wanting to do those things and hang out with your friends and go out and play games, and like realizing that you're constantly in pain because of how bad your fucking feet are, and not having the cardio on top of that, like it sucked.
Yeah, and for me, I think it was more, I was afraid of being hurt. I didn't like pain at all. I had a very, very low pain tolerance. To this day, I still think I have a pretty low pain tolerance.
Dude, there was nothing more enjoyable to me than putting on that football uniform and trying to hit somebody really fucking hard.
I was not that guy.
I only did it for it was like almost a month before I ended up stopping because my feet were just too bad with the cleats and everything. It was causing me too much issues where I just didn't want to do it anymore. But like that first couple of weeks, that was so much fun. I loved it. I kind of wish I would have stuck with it and tried to, like, if I would have known about like the ability to get more customized footwear to make it more achievable. And if I don't even know if that was around at that time, I think it was.
It may not have been.
I don't know if it was super expensive because mom and dad didn't have a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it probably would have been way out of their.
So I don't know if they would have ever been able to afford it, but I really wish I would have had that then, because, man, it makes me wonder what life would have been like differently.
Oh
would
yeah.
How much would have been different? You know?
Yeah, I've had because I was adopted, obviously, and I've always had that itch in my head of what if my adoptive father was my actual father? Because Chris has met my adopted dad. He's gigantic. He's 6'9". And I was like, what if I was like 6'6"?
Yeah. But again, at the same time, it's hard to be like, don't have that life though.
Don't have that life. Got to deal with the
There's no point in.
Got to play the cards that life has dealt you.
Grass is always greener, right?
Yeah. Anyway. With that all being said, we've kind of burned through the NHL stuff here. We'll be back eventually. I'm not quite sure when.
Preseason or after preseason?
We've already done the
preseason
power rankings, we'll probably see you guys post preseason.
Because we're not going to do like an episode after every preseason.
No, no.
There's not going to be enough news to really talk about.
Yeah,
but after the entire preseason.
After the entire preseason and all the injuries shake out and everything else, we'll come on, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about who the potential starters are going to be, and we will give our post-preseason rankings, 1 to 32.
Pre-regular season.
Pre-regular season rankings, 1 to 32 for how we think this year's gonna shake out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
100%.
All right. In the meantime, we hope that all of you had a good time listening to me yammer on about NHL free agency. If you didn't, then why the hell are you still here? We will see all of you again in the future after the preseason. In the meantime, we hope that all of you have a great night. We hope that all of you have a great time. Accomplish what you put your mind to. We will see you later. Stay bearded. Peace out. Arrgh.